move on to the job market. During the payroll data that came out, we have see that the job, finally the job market has started to come down. So same thing, we look at the percentage change, right, from a year ago.
Jason, can you zoom in, please?
Okay, I'm just trying to.
Thanks.
So we can see that the job market has been coming down. We can see that, it had, because during COVID, it came down a lot, right? And because of after that, because of the way they hold the employees back in 2021, you see all this went up again, right? But we can see the easing. But right now, the labor market has been even further coming down. If you look at the percentage change, so we can see all this has been rather high, and then now finally has been coming down. This part that I want to see. So another thing is the wages, the average wages, and this is the part I also want to see. So in terms of the job market, we are also seeing it's starting to come down. This is what the Fed want to see. Two things will cause the Fed to cut interest rate. One is inflation starts to come down. Another is the job market starts to weaken. But the Fed has a dual mandate: low inflation and a strong job market or low unemployment rate. Inflation has been coming down. Although it's a bit sticky, but the reason why it's sticky is because of the shelter component. And the labor market has finally also started to trend down even more. So if this continues to go down, even if inflation is still sticky, the Fed will still cut interest rate. And if we look at the employment cost index, this is also the same thing. You'll see a downward trend. See, I'm coming down, right? So this is all showing a lot of good sign. But we want this to continue coming down, which eventually it would, if we do not have a wage price spiral. Okay, before we end, I just leave it for you guys. Do you have any question?
Yes, my question is, what's the targeting unemployment rate for the Fed?
Okay, so let's look at this. I cannot recall right away, but right now, our unemployment rate is very low.
Mm-hmm.
Like right now, it's 3.9, like below 4% is considered low. And we have been having a very low unemployment rate. So the Fed is not so bothered by unemployment because unemployment is already low. They are more worried about the wage price spiral. You know what is the wage price spiral? So why is it called spiral?
Spiral, as in okay, consumer pricing going up, and then salaries also go up. Is it?
Yes, because as inflation goes up, workers will ask for the wages to go up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when wages go up, then the companies will use that as an excuse to raise prices even more, right? Because now my wages, I have to pay more, so I have to put the increase back into the price, right? So it's a spiral in the sense that if this is not in control, it will just keep on going up, right? So they actually don't want that to happen. But the thing is, for the wage price, and that was in the previous window, is that the real wages is actually going down, right? If you think about it, if inflation is very high, and your wage is also trying to grow to catch up with inflation, but if your wage increase is not as high as inflation, that means overall your real wages is actually low, right? But then now, as the inflation starts coming down, right, but your wage is either not moving or coming down slower than inflation, your real wages is growing, which is what it's a good thing. It means normal people, workers, their real wages is in fact not going down or increasing, which is a good thing, which is what the Fed wants as well, right? Because they don't want inflation to eat into your wages, and then you are only raising your wages just to keep up with inflation. But now inflation is coming down, wages is still quite high, or that means your real wages is going up, which is a good thing for the people. Andre, do you know what's real? When I talk about real, do you know what it means? It's not about okay. It's
in what context? Real.
real. What the
REEL.
yes, real. What does it mean? Okay, I give you a clue. Okay, so we have a nominal and real. Real just means you adjust for inflation, right? For example, now your salary is 100K, right? It could be very high. It could seem high, but if inflation is high, your real wages might not be 100K, right? You adjust for inflation, it could be like 80K. I mean, of course, we have to compare to a time in the past. So, for example, 100K a year ago might not be the same as 100K now, right? If inflation is higher now than a year ago, and your wages remain at 100K, your real wages might be just 80K compared to 100K a year ago. So the thing that people should care about is not how much you take home, your nominal wages, but your real wages. That means adjusting for inflation.
Could that be sort of further adjusted through a certain way of spending? Which means you don't. I mean, if there's inflation, which means you change your lifestyle.
People will definitely change their lifestyle. Just between PCE and CPI is, remember, CPI is fixed basket, right? It doesn't actually change the weight a lot. But for PCE, we have substitutes. So for PCE, they will account for that. So for example, if you look at here, food away from home is actually quite high, right? 4.1 versus 1.1. So for example, for you, if you look at the food away from home, it's so high, now I just substitute, right? I just food at home. So basically, maybe you eat out less, and you can change. You can go to grocery shopping. You can have a price substitute, which is part of the reason why the Fed targets PCE is because people can substitute during high inflation. So they will take that into account as well. But for CPI, it's more rigid in the sense that the weightage, the fixed basket is fixed most of the time. So when the Fed starts cutting interest rate, what do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think part of the reason why they don't want to cut prematurely is afraid the trend may reverse. So that's why they're waiting for that long, right?
Yeah, but the thing is also, there are some people that say that, in fact, the interest rate doesn't really matter so much. Because if you think about it, 5% interest is considered very high because we have been low interest, like near zero, for a very long time. But 5% in the past used to be a very normal interest rate. And it's one good thing about having interest rate at a moderately high level is because if there's any crisis that's going to happen, the Fed can cut interest rate, right? But if you're near zero, the Fed cannot cut interest rate. For example, you just imagine I'm already at 0%. What am I going to do? Go negative interest rate? So they will have less option if there's something were to happen. But if you have at a 5% to 3%, then the Fed can cut interest rate. And normally what one is, okay, for example, if we can, both the PCE and the CPI, say it's below 2.5%, right? Both of them are below 2.5. And the Fed, and the interest rate now is 5%. Do you think that's a good thing? It's not a good thing because it's considered restrictive. Okay, what you want to do is you want the interest rate to be just slightly higher than the inflation rate.
Okay.
Right? For example, your inflation is 2.5%. Your interest rate, if it's 2.6%, that is good. But if your interest rate is so much higher than 2.5%, that means the Fed is engaging a restrictive policy, which means that the Fed wants the economy not too high, like to be too active, right? They want to, cool down the economy, right? So that is the reason why you want the inflation to be, the interest rate to be a lot higher than the inflation. But so in this case, they want to be neutral, right? They don't want to be stimulative. They also don't want to be too restrictive. In that case, then your interest rate should be somewhere close to the inflation rate. The only reason why they still consider 5% now is because the Fed is worried that the inflation will start going up, right? So they just keep it at a comfortable level. Some people are thinking that interest rate doesn't really affect a lot as long as you don't change the inflation rate. So right now we stay at 5%, right? As long as you don't continue hiking interest rate, it's okay, right? The stock market can still boom and go up. Just that if it's very close to zero, it's like kind of like easy monetary policy, right? That means the market will tend to be more in a bubble kind of way. Because if you look at during the COVID, they slashed interest rate, quantitative easing, and then the government sends stimulative checks to the household, right? So all that caused the market to went up very high. The recovery was very, very high, very swift, right? But after that, the inflation, the market dropped down again, right? But in a healthy stock market, you don't want it to go up too fast as well, right? Because there will be a bubble, and when it pop, it will come down. So in a healthy environment, 5% interest rate is still okay as long as you don't continue hiking. But if the inflation keeps coming down to very low and you hold it at such a high level, it doesn't make sense too, right? So the Fed, what it will do, it will start to cut rate so that it will be more closer to the inflation rate, as long as they don't think that there's a worry that inflation will start coming up again. If inflation, instead of going up again, it goes down very fast, right? Into deflationary territory, or you will see the Fed cut interest rate even more, because they are worried that the interest rate will go down to negative. There will be deflation, right, which is not what they want.